Have you ever imagined waking up in the 14th century and having to live an entire day as a medieval peasant? Forget breakfast, fresh fruits, and any idea of a balanced meal. What awaited you would be a plate of hard bread and a mug of lukewarm beer. Sounds curious? Wait until you discover what else was on the menu. The medieval diet wasn't just poor in nutrients, it was also dangerous, unhealthy, and completely different from what we're used to today. For centuries, food was a direct reflection of social inequality. While nobles gorged themselves on meats and extravagant banquets, the poor struggled daily to get something that could barely be called food. The lower classes survived on the bare minimum, and even that was often spoiled. It was literally a daily battle against hunger and against diseases. But the most frightening thing is that even with so much misery and precarious food, this was the normality of the time. People's palates were so accustomed to strong, sour, and fermented flavors that what would make us sick today was, back then, their sustenance. So if you think it's hard to skip your nighttime snack, brace yourself. You wouldn't survive 24 hours eating like someone from the Middle Ages. The foundation of the medieval diet revolved around cereals, grains, and breads. Bread was, for many, what rice is today, essential. Except it wasn't always fresh. Peasants ate leftovers from previous days, hard and moldy. Soups made from oats, beans, or barley were the main meal, and meat was a luxury few saw on the table. The menu was repetitive, simple, and in many cases contaminated. Meanwhile, nobles had access to meats, imported fruits and spices from the East. Their tables were abundant, but that didn't mean a healthy diet. The excess of fat, sugar, and alcohol caused many to suffer from diseases we now associate with sedentary lifestyles. Eating well in the Middle Ages was a symbol of power, even if well was something that caused discomfort or illness. Food also varied by region and climate. In cold places, the consumption of grains and roots was higher, while in southern Europe, olive oil and wine predominated. Still, scarcity was constant. Hunger was an old acquaintance of the medieval people, and survival depended as much on the harvest as on luck. In other words, eating was an act of survival, not pleasure. In the Middle Ages, the concept of breakfast practically didn't exist. Eating right after waking up was seen as something for the lazy, and even sinful. People believed the body needed to work before earning food. Thus, many peasants went hours without eating, facing cold, fatigue, and heavy labor on an empty stomach. The first meal, when it came, was more relief than pleasure. For those who were lucky, breaking the fast consisted of a piece of stale bread and a mug of weak beer. That's right, beer instead of milk or coffee. The drink was so common because water was dangerous, as we'll see later. Among nobles, breakfast was a light affair, sometimes with dried fruits, honey, and cheeses, but still far from the banquet many imagine. Now imagine you, accustomed to hot coffee, fresh bread, and scrambled eggs, having to start the day with hard bread and lukewarm beer. Your body would feel the energy drop quickly. And remember, peasants worked from sunup to sundown, plowing fields and carrying loads. Surviving without a good morning meal would be a true test of physical and mental endurance. The basic foods of the Middle Ages were simple: barley, oats, turnips, onions, cabbage, and dried legumes. Meat was rare, and when it appeared, it usually came from smaller animals like chickens or pigs. Fish was more common, especially on religious days. But what surprises most is what people ate when there was no other option. Moldy bread, soured milk, and sometimes meat from animals dead for days. Some historical accounts tell how peasants added sawdust to bread to make it last longer. Others used rancid fat for cooking, without worrying about the strong smell. Spices were scarce and expensive, so most of the time food tasted like nothing, or rot. To compensate, they used excessive salt, which caused dehydration and kidney problems. In castles, on the other hand, there were dishes that would disgust us today: swans, peacocks, and even roasted hedgehogs. Eating something exotic was a sign of wealth and status. But ironically, the more sophisticated the table, the greater the risk of diseases from excess and contamination. The truth is that, whether noble or peasant, no one ate healthily. What today is historical curiosity was for them simply reality. The difference between what nobles and peasants ate was absurd. While the common folk settled for thin soups and hard bread, nobles feasted on meats, cheeses, fruits, and imported sweets. Medieval castles were true stages of ostentation, where eating well was a way to display power. However, eating well didn't mean nourishing healthily. Far from it. Banquets were drenched in fat and sugar, dishes were painted with gold powder and decorated with feathers just to impress guests. The abundance was so great that waste was enormous. In contrast, peasants spent entire days eating the same cereal and vegetable stew, often reheated repeatedly until it lost any flavor. The luxury of some was the hunger of many. And the most curious thing is that, despite the opulence, nobles lived sickly. Gout, obesity, and food poisonings were common, as hygiene and food preservation were precarious. Peasants, even malnourished, had bodies more adapted to scarcity. The medieval table, therefore, wasn't just a symbol of wealth. It was also a mirror of the inequalities in a society that ate to survive, not to live well. Drinking water in the Middle Ages was practically a death sentence. Rivers and wells were contaminated with human feces, animal remains, and waste from tanneries and workshops. There were no sanitation systems, and cities were filthy. Clean water was a rare privilege, reserved for those living away from urban centers. For most, the safest liquid was alcohol. That's why beer and wine became part of daily life, even for children. The drinks had low alcohol content and were safer than water. Fermentation killed some microorganisms, and the taste masked impurities. Curiously, without knowing it, medieval people discovered a primitive form of purification. Drinking beer was literally a matter of survival.
But like everything in the Middle Ages, there were excesses. Constant alcohol consumption caused dependence and liver diseases. Plus, beer wasn't always good quality, often made with old or contaminated grains. Imagine living in a world where even a simple glass of water could kill you. That's why, between sips, beer was the most reliable remedy of the era. In the Middle Ages, preserving food was a constant challenge. Without refrigeration, meat rotted in days, and spices became a way to disguise the smell and taste of decomposition. Spices brought from the East were so valuable they were worth almost as much as gold. Pepper, nutmeg, cinnamon, and cloves were used not just for flavor, but to trick the palate. Nobles abused these ingredients to impress guests, creating colorful and fragrant dishes. However, luxury came at a high cost. Beyond the price of spices, excess masked already spoiled food. Eating a medieval banquet could be a real gamble. Beautiful to the eye, but dangerous to the stomach. Few knew the pleasant aroma hid an invisible danger. Peasants, on the other hand, had no access to these expensive spices. They relied on salt to preserve and flavor food. This made meals extremely salty and dehydrating. Thus, while the rich disguised rot with cinnamon, the poor swallowed it with salt. In both cases, the result was the same: an unbalanced and potentially deadly diet. If you think cooking without washing your hands is gross, wait until you learn about medieval kitchens. Most of them were dark, smoke-filled, and with dirt floors. Food scraps accumulated, attracting rats and insects. Utensils were rarely cleaned, and the same cauldron was used for days to prepare soups, stews, and even medicines. Lack of hygiene wasn't seen as problematic. People simply didn't associate dirt with disease. Thus, meats were handled carelessly, and raw foods were exposed to flies and bacteria. Even royal banquets were prepared in precarious conditions, where the dish's appearance mattered more than its safety. The beauty of the banquet hid a true invisible threat. And the result was predictable: food poisonings, parasites, and epidemics. The medieval kitchen was an environment of constant risk, where the line between meal and poison was very thin. Eating was always a bet, and those who survived probably owed it more to luck than health. Hygiene was an unknown luxury, and the price of ignorance was often life itself. Medieval parties and banquets were grand spectacles. In castles, huge tables were covered with roasted meats, exotic fruits, and ornate pies. Swans, peacocks, and even whole boars were served as symbols of power and abundance. Many of these delicacies weren't even meant for consumption. They were just decoration, created to impress. Eating well was above all a political act. Banquets also followed a rigid hierarchy. The most important guests received the best parts, while servants and peasants waited for leftovers. Dish presentation was theatrical. Animals were served whole, with feathers and skins were placed, and plates painted with gold powder. It was a way of saying, "Look at my power. Look at what I can waste." However, behind so much ostentation, there was constant risk. Lack of hygiene and poor storage meant many foods were spoiled. Strong spices masked the taste, but not the danger. Many left banquets sick. Some even died days later. Medieval luxury, ironically, could be lethal, and no one seemed to care. Religion dominated all aspects of medieval life, including what was eaten. There were long periods of fasting and abstinence, especially during Lent. Eating meat on certain days was considered a sin, so fish and vegetables took center stage. Some even created fake recipes like meat fish, made from grains to skirt the rules without offending the faith. Food was seen as part of spiritual purification. Eating little and simply was a sign of devotion, while excess was considered sin. Monks, for example, lived on extremely restricted and routine diets. Nobles made creative adaptations to not give up luxury. They fasted during the day but compensated with banquets at night. These restrictions created eating habits that marked generations. Food wasn't just sustenance. It was a way to demonstrate faith and obedience. Religious beliefs shaped the palate, meal rhythm, and even recipes of the era. Eating, for the medieval man, was a spiritual act, but also a form of social control, dictated by dogmas and the church. In the Middle Ages, bread wasn't just food. It was the basis of survival. Peasants ate bread at every meal, made from whole grains, oats, or barley, depending on the region and harvest. The rich's bread was white and soft, made from sifted flour. The poor's was dark, dense, and full of impurities. In times of famine, it was common to mix sawdust, straw, and even sand into the dough, just to trick the stomach. Beer, in turn, was more than a drink. It was a source of calories and nutrition. Rich in carbohydrates and safer than water, it was consumed by everyone, including children. They called it liquid bread, and for good reason. Fermented barley often replaced the meal itself. Drinking beer for breakfast was as normal as drinking water today. This combination of bread and beer formed the backbone of the medieval diet. Simple, caloric, and monotonous. It kept the body upright, but far from balanced nutrition. It was a cycle of immediate satiety and constant weakness. Bread nourished, beer hydrated, and together they were the minimum needed to face the harshness of feudal life. It may seem strange today, but in the Middle Ages, eating raw fruits and vegetables was considered dangerous and even sinful in some contexts. People believed raw foods carried miasms, sick vapors that brought illness. Thus, everything needed to be cooked, boiled, or roasted, even if it lost flavor or nutrients. Eating something fresh was seen as an unnecessary risk. This belief came from both medical ignorance and religion. The body was viewed as fragile, vulnerable to nature's forces and divine will. Thus, raw foods were feared as carriers of impurities. Even fruits like apples and pears were cooked before consumption. And vegetables, when they appeared on the table, were almost always mixed into broths and soups.
The result was a diet poor in vitamins and minerals. Scurvy, weakness, and poor digestion were common, especially among peasants. This trust of the natural shaped a generation that believed fire purified food and body. Irony of fate, what they thought brought health actually made them sicker. The medieval diet, poor in variety and hygiene, was fertile ground for diseases. Scurvy, caused by lack of vitamin C, left gums bleeding and teeth falling out. Chronic malnutrition weakened the body, opening space for infections and plagues. Intestinal parasites were so common that almost everyone had some kind of worm. Eating was a necessity, but also a daily risk. Spoiled meats and poorly preserved fish caused severe poisonings. People often died without knowing why, believing in curses or divine punishments. The era's medicine had no scientific explanations. The sick body was treated with bloodletting, prayers, and herbs. Meanwhile, the real cause of diseases, contaminated food, remained untouched, perpetuating the cycle of suffering. And the most ironic thing is that the richer the table, the greater the danger. Nobles who overindulged in meats and fats suffered from gout and kidney failure. The poor, who barely had anything to eat, withered slowly. The medieval diet was, in summary, a slow death sentence. The body fell ill without understanding why, and no one could change it. Now imagine yourself in a medieval peasant's place, waking at sunrise, drinking weak beer instead of water, eating hard bread and working all day without pause. For lunch, a thin barley and onion soup. At night, more bread and maybe a piece of aged cheese. No fruit, no real protein. Just empty calories and lots of fatigue. Could you endure it? The modern body, accustomed to varied nutrients, would suffer in hours. Lack of natural sugar and vitamins would cause dizziness, weakness, and headaches. And the taste? A festival of bitterness and unpleasant texture. No aromatic spices or fresh food, just forced sustenance, enough not to die but insufficient to feel alive. Plus, hygiene would be a shock, eating with dirty hands, drinking murky liquids, and sleeping with the smell of old food in the air. Spending 24 hours in that scenario would be a true test of physical and mental endurance. The live like in the Middle Ages challenge seems fun in theory, but in practice it would be almost unbearable. The medieval diet is more than a historical curiosity. It's a mirror of the Middle Ages itself. Eating back then wasn't an act of pleasure, but of survival. What went on the plate depended on luck, the harvest, and social position. A noble's table reflected power, while a peasant's bowl revealed the daily struggle for life. Food, more than killing hunger, revealed who you were in the world's hierarchy. Inequality was present in every meal. While some ate until sick, others spent days on bread and broth. Religion controlled what could or couldn't be consumed, and fear of the unknown shaped the palate. Everything was regulated, even hunger. This relationship between food, faith, and power shows how much the Middle Ages was dominated by beliefs more than knowledge. And that's exactly what makes the period so fascinating. The medieval diet, as strange and repulsive as it may seem, carries the marks of a society trying to survive amid scarcity and superstition. Eating was an act of faith, resistance, and adaptation. So the next time you look at your modern plate, remember, in the Middle Ages, having something to eat was already a privilege, and surviving a miracle.